Hi, this is James with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to take a look at Dubious. Dubious is a 3 to 6 player game published by Arcane Wonders. In Dubious, you're playing a detective and you're trying to guess the occupation and secret of the other players, while you yourself will be storytelling and trying to have the majority of people guess your occupation and secret, but not everyone. Also, you're trying to make it so you're not too obscure and no one can guess either. So let's go ahead down to the table. I'll show you how this game plays, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts. All right, so we're going to take a look at Dubious. Doubt is in the air. How much can you tell about a person from their clothes or mood? Is it possible to work out their occupation or secret by what they have in their bag? That is what you're going to have to do. Answer 5 questions and listen carefully to what others have to say about themselves. Try to guess who is who and become the shrewdest detective ever. So in this game, you're going to get 3 different eras that you can pick from. You're going to pick one of the 3 different eras, but your contents for this game are going to be 6 score screens here. So these screens are going to show a couple different pieces of information for you in the game, and you're going to use these to hide your sheet here. And these goes over the game phases, and this goes over the scoring, and you're going to pin the era that you pick inside here, which shows all the occupations. So with that, you're also going to get 18 of these occupation lists for each of the eras. You're going to get 6 for each era because it's up to 6 players. So these will show all the occupations that can possibly be and secrets in an era. You will also get cards for each of these eras. So this one here is going to be fantasy, and you're going to have 14 occupation cards, and you're going to have 14 secret cards. You're going to have the same quantity for modern, which is this era, and the same quantity for Victorian England. You're also going to get these really cool black pencils that really thematic for the game. You're going to get these pins, and you're going to get 12 of them. They're going to hold up the era that shows the occupation and secret. This card right here. You are also, for each of these eras, you're going to get special question cards here, and they are going to have 3 for each. In addition to that, you're going to have 18 general question cards to play in the game. And that's the components that you're going to have in Dubious. Let's go over the game overview. The game can last several rounds. At the beginning of each round, each player gets a pair, an occupation, and a secret card, which, with a hidden combination, the players create an original character with a special appearance and characteristics. This is going to be the role for the round. Each player will answer 5 random questions shared by everyone. In their answers, each player will be trying to give others a hint of their combination of occupation and secret. At the end of the round, all players try to guess the rival's occupation and secret to score victory points. Each player also scores 1 victory point for every other player that gets their occupation or secret. However, if all players guess their occupation and secret, their answer hasn't been dubious enough, and they don't score any victory points. At the end of the game, whoever scores the most victory points will win. All right, let's go over game setup. All right, for game setup, you're going to pick an era. Which era you pick is up to you. So if I wanted to pick, let's say, fantasy, because I wanted the fantasy, I would have the occupation and the secret cards here. So I'll do that. And then we'll put these rest in the box because we don't need them. So we don't need any cards from the other eras. In addition to this, we're going to go through and we're going to find the cards for that era, which are going to be these ones here, and put the rest in the box. In addition to that, we're also going to get the questions from that era. So the fantasy era, I have those, and we're going to put the other ones back in the box. These question cards have this back on here. They're going to be shuffled into this deck right here. So we're going to shuffle that up really good. And then we're going to shuffle this deck up separately too. Each player is going to get a pencil. They're going to get this card. And they're going to get a screen. All right, so on the screen, you're going to take your paper clip that you have, and you're going to paper clip this on the inside. So we'll go ahead and paper clip this here and paper clip this here. Now this we'll have for the rest of the game here, and this will show us all of our occupations and secrets that are available in this game. Every player will also get a sheet of paper. So we'll go ahead and get that sheet of paper out here. Make some room here. And they'll get a sheet of paper. And their pencil. Now this will remain hidden. You're not going to get the whole dang notebook, but I'm just putting that here because it's just easier than ripping out a sheet of paper. All right, so now we have, now these would be on the middle of the table, not underneath here, but just to show you and have room for the camera here, we're going to have our occupations and our secret here. Each player is going to get 2 of each of these cards. So I'll get 2 cards here, and I'll get 2 cards here. I'm going to flip them over, and I'm going to pick one of the 2 occupations. So let's say I want to be a dragon rider because that's cool. So I'll say 5, not out loud, dragon. And then I'll say I didn't want the blacksmith, so this is the role this is the one I picked, occupation I picked. This is the occupation I didn't pick, which will be 11, blacksmith. All right, I will keep this 1 card, and this card will get discarded face down to the bottom of the occupation deck. This here, I'm going to pick one of the 2. Oh, you know what? That fits. I'm going to return this one, so I'll say 2. And I'll just say sheep, because I didn't want to really turn my brother into a sheep. And then this one here, I'll do 8, another world. And I'll keep these 2 cards. The other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to put your name on here. And you're going to put the name of all the other players here. All right, and that you're going to use to track what your guesses are throughout the game. You'll hold on to these cards, but you can put them face down, so just in case anyone gets a sneak peek of that. And finally, we're going to create the list of questions that are going to happen throughout the game. We're going to take these 2 piles here. This is going to be appearance questions, and this is a sorted, or sorry, these are appearance questions. These are sorted questions. And we are going to take 2 of these and 3 of these. And then we'll return the rest here to the box. Now there is you can shuffle these up and put them out in any order, but the recommended order is going to be appearance, assorted, then another appearance, and then 2 assorted. That's going to be the recommended setup. So then you can make that stack there, and these will be your questions in the game. So that's your answering question pile set up. And we're ready for the beginning part of the game. So spend some time imagining a story for your character, what they're like, what they led them to the occupation, what they like in general. You may come up a name for them and list them in your recorded sheet if you want. Now you are your character. So it's very important for this game. You're going to be doing some role playing. So for me, I am a dragon rider who came from another world. So I will act like a dragon rider, the way I think a dragon rider would act from another world. You're going to choose any one player to read the question to everyone. The chosen player reveals the first card of the question deck and reads the question out loud. Then all players, including the one who read it, simultaneously write their answers down next to the sequential number at the bottom of their record sheet. And each player tries to give the other hints about their occupation and secret. So for that, we're going to pick this one up, and it says, what are you wearing? So this was the first one. So there's first of 5. What am I wearing? I would say that I'm probably, since I'm a dragon rider, So I could say armor. I'm going to say, oh, Dragon Rider. I'm just going to say armor for right now. We'll even say light armor. And you can write a whole sentence on here if you want, but this is going to be what I'm wearing. So it also helps to try to be as specific as possible on your sheet so that when you're answering questions about it, you can try to be, forget what your goal is. So after you've done that, you're going to take turns reading them out loud. So you're going to read your answer out loud, starting with the one who read the question and going clockwise. During this process, each player may take notes and jot down ideas for the occupation and secret of their opponent in the corresponding columns of their record sheet. You may make detailed notes on other players' answers by using additional sheets of blank paper if you want. In addition to this, before you answer, you may introduce your character, letting everyone know your gender, etc. While reading your answer, you may spruce it up with insignificant details, read it in a modified voice, and filler words, and use any other techniques to bring your character to life, but you cannot change the core meaning of the written answer. You're going to repeat this step until all 5 questions have been answered. As a quick note before we get into the guessing portion of this, I wanted to mention that you can change the number of questions in the game. You can make it easier or harder. If you can go down to 4 cards instead of 5, you can make it a more difficult game. You can do different quantities of appearance or sorted if you want. I just use the recommended starting for this game, and you can spruce that up however you wish. Now, the guessing for the game is the big portion of this game. It's time to leave all your doubts behind. Starting with the player who read the question, going clockwise, each player reads aloud their answers aloud once again. Once the player is done reading, all other players have 30 seconds to think and finalize their guess on their occupation and secret and record it in their sheets. Now, every time someone is saying an answer to one of these questions, you'll notice that there's 5 different columns here for each of the different players. You're going to look at the list here, and you're going to pay attention to their answer, and you're going to pick some numbers here that they are and they aren't. So based on their answer, well, obviously I know they're not what I am, but maybe I know they're not an innkeeper from the way they're talking in this round, but maybe they are the Inquisitioner or Druid. And maybe in this round I can say they're definitely not a necromancer and they're definitely not a rogue. So I can cross those 2 out. But I'm not quite sure. Maybe they could be a war mage or one of these 3. And you can slowly work your way down until you can get your final guesses. Same with all these other characters in here. You can also track your notes in here on your second line if you have room, or you, like I said, you can provide extra sheets of paper for each other player to keep additional notes for the game. Scoring for this game is pretty straightforward. Choose any one player. All other players take turns announcing their guess regarding the player's occupation and secret. Then the chosen player reveals their cards and places ticks on the slots and they're recorded accordingly to the rules here. So basically I'm going to say what my guesses are. Let's say I said this one's 8 and 10. I have those all recorded here because that was my final guesses on here. That's what happens after we get all 5. We put our final recording on here. And then we're going to go around and we're going to say what we guessed. And if I was right on this one, I would mark it off. If I was wrong on this one, I wouldn't. So I continue on with this for all the rest. Now, if you're the main player, you have these slots up here, these little things you can tick off. Now, you want to check these, actually not, the rules say check. I actually fill these in down here because they don't really matter, but you're going to want to check these off for each correct guess. But if everyone guesses what you are, you're going to then cross them out. If no one guessed what you are, everyone gets to fill in their slot for that, because no one guessed it, they're going to get the points on it. So that's scoring. So again, if you get anything right for any of these characters, you'll check or fill in for the bottom part all that you got right. When it's your turn, you're going to check for everyone that got yours right, for both your occupation and your secret. Your goal is to try to get some people to get these right, because you're going to get more points, but not everyone, and not no one. If no one guesses it right, everyone else gets a point for that. If everyone gets it right, you don't get any points. So that's it. And they're going to add up all your little check marks, the things that aren't crossed out, and that's going to be your final score. Now, what happens if you tie? So, in case of a tie, the player who scored the most victory points for other players' occupations and secrets will win the game. If you still are tied, you will share the victory. So that is how you play Dubious. So a couple recommendations on this game here. I do recommend that you give an extra sheet of paper or notepad for players while they're playing the game, because there's going to be probably a lot of different notes they may want to take down, and you don't want to have them ask for it ahead of time. And try to role play your character as best as possible, because not only does it make the game more fun, but it also can give hints to other players of what occupation and secret you have. So you can use that to your advantage. Also, feel free to change the quantities of appearance and general questions as much as you want. And I saw a couple examples here because I didn't show one. Here's a general question. You are being followed by a monster. What do you do? So for my character, I would probably say, have my pet breathe fire on it. That might be too obvious. So you're going to want to play around for it, or have my pet eat it. You know, who knows? Or slay the monster. But then they're going to think that I'm a knight. So on here, I could be a guard, I guess. There's also dragon rider. There's druid. Wouldn't really be wearing armor. Rogue might be wearing armor. So there's a couple. A necromancer, maybe I animated a dead monster. So you want to have some options that they can pick from, and you don't want to be too obvious, but you don't want to be too vague either. So that is the core of the game and my suggestions for it, in order for you to have the best experience possible playing this game. All right, so let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on Dubious. All right, so that was Dubious. Component quality for this game is great. Card quality is great. I like the screens. They're good quality on there, and they're going to last a long time. And the clips are really nice because they are strong enough to hold the card in place on the screen, but not strong enough to damage the screen, which I really do appreciate. So I think they put a lot of thought into that. And the artwork in this game is great. I love like this sort of abstract-y art that's in this game. Really good. And it is consistent throughout. Iconography is great in this game. So let's go ahead and move on to gameplay. So gameplay for this is going to be a social deduction game. So if you like social deduction games, this is definitely going to be up your alley. If you don't like social deduction games but don't mind playing them, this game is going to be a great game to check out, because you're going to be in my camp. I really would rather not play social deduction games. However, this one I had a lot of fun with. So that says a lot for me to actually become invested in a social deduction game when I don't even like the genre. There's only a couple out there that have ever done that, and this is one of them. I really like sort of the storytelling that you're going to be doing in the game to try to get people to guess your occupation and your secret. I don't like games like Apples to Apples, where you just put them out in one person, like it's the judge or whatever. Bleh, who cares? This is really cool because every other player is trying to figure out what you said, but they're sort of like their own little island in this game. So I'm trying to get X amount of people, which is similar to a lot of other social deduction games, but it's the delivery of it. It's the storytelling that I'm doing by the questions that it's asking. There's a lot more interactivity in this game because I'm going to be answering 5 questions or whatever number of questions you set up for your game round. And the way that I answer those is unique because there's a set of cards here that's going to be limited, but they're pretty obscure questions, or I guess common questions. And in some of these occupations and secrets, they're not common. Or if they are, some of them are common, you need to do it and answer in a way that gives them the idea of narrowing it down on that sheet, but not too much. So you're looking at your sheet yourself to guess what the other players have, but you're also looking at the sheet, your own sheet, to be vague enough that there's still some possibilities of other occupations or secrets that you could have. And that's really cool. Plus the combo of the occupation and secret can be really cool. So you could role play into what that combination actually resulted to in what you think you would be if you did that stuff. So really like that. And there's a ton of replayabilities to this game here. It's not simply just a giant deck of random stuff. It's going to be 3 different themed decks. And in those decks, they're pretty thick. There's a lot of cards in there. So there's a lot of replayability in just one deck. They could have put 1 deck in here and the game would have functioned fine, but they put 3. So you have so much replayability in this game. And if they ever do expansions are going to be relatively easy for this. They'll just do another theme and it'll be great. It's just that variability that you get each time you play. If I would suggest playing with a theme for a little while, everyone's going to get a hang of the occupations and the secrets, and then turn the game on its head, use another one. And then they have to get used to that set. So, like I said, tons of replayability in this game. If you like social deduction games, this is definitely a game that you want to check out. If you're not really into social deduction games, but you do play them occasionally, then I highly recommend giving this game a play. You might find that you like it as much as I do. So that's my thoughts on Dubious. Thank you for watching.